Hello everybody, and this is Howto64. Today, I have decided that we are going to get back into the educational videos because I want to further your guys' education, and I don't really know where I was going with this. Hi everybody, I'm Howto64, and today I want to talk about mic placement because that's something that I feel a lot of people don't know how to do. And before you even say anything, because I know what you're going to say,
but Howto64, I have an amp sim. With the amp sim, I put the guitar into my interface, and it's my amp.
Well, guess what, Buster? I'm going to give you 3 reasons why that ain't going to cut it. All right, first excuse, most amp sims actually have inside of them a cab simulator, and in the cab simulator, it also has a mic placement. Now, if you don't know what mic placement does, which is why you should watch this video, then you won't even know what you're doing. Hence, my point still stands. Point number 2. Let's say you're out on a show and your Axe Effects breaks down or your Kemper breaks down. And what are you going to use as a backup? Oh, that's right, the house equipment. And you know what they're going to have? They're probably going to have some type of Bagheera 4x12 with maybe a Mesa triple rectifier, if you're lucky. And do you know how to mic that up? Do you know how to get a good tone out of that? You will after you watch this video. And point number 3, the ultimate reason why this video is important. I wanted to make it. So let's go in and start micing some cabs, baby. Let's go. Woo! All right, let's do this. All right. So I learned this new trick, and I've never tried it before. You get this trick when you hit 100 subscribers. Please subscribe, I need 100 subscribers. So I learned this new trick, and we're gonna try it out right now, all right? Ready? Let's go. Whoa. Oh. Okay. First part done. Whew, this is a lot more energy than I thought it would take. Alright. I'll be right back. Alright. Oh. Oh, okay. Oh. Okay. Screw that. I'm getting the cables the regular way. Okay, so time kind of got away from me because I had to go and set up the amp and all this other stuff, but that's okay because now we can film in
night mode.
Who are you? We are here, and as you can see, my amp is hooked up. We have our guitar. We're ready to rock. This angle is terrible. Yeah. Oh, that's so much better. All right, so as you can see, we are here. Amp's hooked up. Everything's good. Got our guitar here. We're able to make some sounds. First thing that's really important to note here is that this isn't gonna be a video saying, oh, if you mic the amp this way, you're correct. But if you mic it the way this guy says it, don't listen to that guy. That guy's an idiot. I just want to kind of show you guys what you're really getting into when you kind of start doing this stuff. And I feel like that's the best way to teach people, is not saying this is right, this is wrong. It's more like showing them, hey, this is what this sounds like, this is what this sounds like. Do what you want with that information. So normally for this experiment, I would use an SM57. However, my SM57 is currently being used for a recording I am doing out in another location. So instead, what we're going to use is the E609 by Sennheiser. It is a dynamic microphone, and it typically is used for miking guitars. It's one of the options you do see in a lot of the amp sims that you probably use. And we're gonna hook it up and see how it goes. Now that we got the mic up to the cab, I don't know if you can see that, it's like right there. So we have the mic up to the cabinet. We didn't actually do any placement because I want to talk about the placements as we're doing them. And I also opened up an instance of Pro Tools just so we can document different positions and we can hear what they sound like and A/B it at the end for a whole test. Another thing you're going to want is going to be this guy right here. The very important, the almighty flashlights. These guys are very useful because inside the cabinet, I don't know if any of you know this, so these are typically called a 4x12, these little half cabs. And why they're called a 4x12 is because inside, so like right here on this end, down here, and down here, you actually have 4 different cones that produce the sound, and they're all 12 inches. That's why they're called 4x12s. And with the microphone, you can actually look inside and you can see the cones past the grill, so you know where you're miking at. Very useful stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about the 4 things we're going to be trying here. The first thing we're going to be trying is going to be like room miking, or you can call it far miking. It's kind of the beginner pitfall where people think, oh, well, if I just place the mic in front of the amp, then everything will be fine. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you want a room mic, but not always, especially for guitars, especially distorted guitars, but we'll show you why. Next thing we're going to talk about is close miking. That is kind of like having the microphone basically right up against the grill, kind of like that. It's the opposite of room miking, so it's just a nice comparison. The next 2 things we're going to talk about is on axis and off axis. And what that regards to is, so say that this flashlight is the cone and this is the microphone. As you can see, this would be on axis because it's on axis. See, it's lining up with how the cone pushes the sound out and the microphone receives it. Off axis would be taking this idea and then moving it to the side. So now it looks a bit like this rather than being like this, and that is called off axis. It's just off axis from the cone. And then if you want, we can also throw in 2 bonus ones, which would be miking close to the cone and miking further away from the cone. That is going to give you a big tonal difference, and we can actually go over that as well. So let me create 2 more tracks. Alright, so as you guys can see, the microphone is here, and we are going to be miking up the cabinet. So let me go ahead and show you what that cone is I was telling you about. So the cone, as you can see right there, that is the cone that we're looking at. There's the outer rim here, and then as you move closer in, there is an inner rim, and that is what I'm talking about when you're talking about cone miking. We're going to do examples of that as well, but for now, let's just talk about microphone placement. So, with the microphone, kind of like this, I think this is the best angle. So, as we have the microphone here, this right here would be called on-axis close miking. As you can see, I am right up against the grill. There's barely any room for my fingers to get through, and I am also lined up with the cone. You can do the same exact argument and you can move the microphone further out. So now you're getting the edge of the outer cone rather than getting the edge of the inner cone. And because of that, you're actually going to have a much darker tone. Now, on the other end, if we move you guys over to the side, so if you look at the cone now, you can see that my microphone, this is considered close miking. As you see, the microphone is up against the grill. There is really no discrepancy here. And what I'm talking about with further away is like taking the microphone, say, further back like this. That is actually going to give you a tonal difference as well as kind of like a roomy air difference as well. And then, of course, I'd move it all the way back. That's a huge difference, and that's more room miking than it is close miking. So now that we've kind of explained it all, let's go through the examples real quick, and I will meet you guys back at the end of the demo.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Alright, so let's go ahead and listen to the room microphone. So it's interesting. A lot of the scratchy high end is actually coming through. I'd probably EQ a lot of the 9K out of that, see what it sounds differently, but let's go ahead and move on to close mic. So close mic, as I said before, is the microphone right up against the grill. I did not choose the location of where it would be placed, so I don't know what this is going to sound like. Let's go. So close mic actually ended up giving us a lot more of that bottom resonance. I might have placed it a bit further from the inside of the cone. It was a little bit lower when I went to adjust it for on axis, but that's about all I can suggest. The next one is on axis, which is the speaker cone and the microphone basically being perpendicular to each other. And let's hear what that sounds like. And for that one, I gave a lot more of a darker characteristic. A lot of the high end seemed to have been phased out a bit, but that was actually interesting. I did not expect that. Next, for off axis, we are going to have the microphone pointed at the speaker and then skewed off a bit to the side. Not so that they're parallel, but kind of like a weird 45 angle-ish degree. And that's going to be off axis. So once again, another interesting one. I think off axis so far would be the most workable one, but then again, it's all in perspective. Next one is going to be close cone. So this is the inside cone, not the outside 12-inch woofer, the inside, not really a tweeter, but the inside kind of driver of the cone. I placed it closer to that, kind of on the edge to give, and usually when you do close cone miking, you're going for more brightness in the amp. So let's hear what that sounds like. So I actually ended up picking up a lot of the bass resonance on the palm mutes. That is usually a fault with the type of cabinet that I use. Usually around like 200 to 300. You do have those palm mute kind of scrapes and muffs, and you do hear that in some amp sims. Some of them EQ it out for you, but that's actually a really common thing and something you want to look out for on your EQ. And the final thing we want to look at is going to be the far cone. This is me placing it on the outer side of the bigger cone as far away from the smaller cone as I could to produce more of a darker tone. And that's going to sound like this. All right, and that concludes our experiment. Those are basically the 6 most common ways you would see someone miking up your amp. If you ever get asked, like say you're playing a show or you're in the studio and say the engineer asks you, what position is best for your amp, you can now tell them any one of these combinations, depending on your personal preference. And hopefully that will help you sound a lot better in the future with shows. It can help you do a lot of home recording if you can't afford amp sims because you've already indulged in buying premium guitar gear like some of us have. Anyways, you guys have been a wonderful audience. It was great seeing ya, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.